Now, it's been quite a few unsettling months for Tottenham. They drew 2-2 at Everton in April, and that turned out to be Jose Mourinho's final game in charge of the club. 3 days later, Mourinho was fired. Ryan Mason, remember him? Later taking over on interim basis. Later that week, Mason led Tottenham into the League Cup final, where they lost to Manchester City, extending Spurs' trophy drought. They began the long search for a new manager. Tottenham were reportedly interested in several candidates, including former boss Mauricio Pochettino and Antonio Conte himself. But they eventually settled on Nuno Espirito Santo, who was appointed on June the 30th. It was a great start for Nuno. Spurs won their first 3 games of the season, and he was named Premier League Manager of the Month for August. But then it fell apart, with Tottenham losing 5 of their last 7 league games, including a 3-0 defeat to Manchester United last weekend, which led to Nuno, after just 4 months in charge, being fired on Monday, with Conte coming in to replace him after not joining the club in the summer. And Tottenham, with their new manager Antonio Conte, is the topic of Sunday morning's Boot Room. Welcome inside our studio, the two Robbies alongside me. Well, gentlemen, I think my first question is, and Robbie Earle, I'll start with you. Why do you think Antonio Conte chose Spurs when he could have waited for maybe Manchester United at some point?
Maybe Manchester United at some point is an ongoing saga, and with Ollie there, we talked about yesterday, we don't know if there will be a change. Tottenham Hotspur, Rebecca, have got many assets, including a great stadium, a magnificent training ground. Unfortunately, on the pitch, not a great team. And I think he believes he can come to this football club and make a difference. Now, making a difference for Antonio Conte usually means trophies. Since 2011, he's won more titles than anybody else apart from Pep Guardiola. But I think he believes he can enhance his reputation more than anything else by coming to Tottenham. And I know it's only an 18-month contract, and I know that things will have to happen reasonably quickly. But Tottenham Hotspur, I guarantee you, will be a better club when he leaves, however long that is, than the day he walked through the door. And that's why I think he's taken the job, because somewhere in his future still might be a Manchester United.
There's an argument that he might not enhance his reputation, because if you've managed Chelsea, Juve and Inter, is this a step down?
Yeah, I would say it's his hardest job that he's had in his career. I like his words when he says, I want this to be an important part of my managerial career. Like that, because I think it's going to be difficult. I think the club has tried to reset with Jose Mourinho. I think there's been a steady decline in the squad since the last season or so with Pochettino. He himself wanted to update the squad. It never really happened, and others have come in to try and fix things. Now, he is a fixer, and he'll try and do an immediate fix. But I would think that most agree there's some big changes that need to happen, Rebecca. And this isn't... I think that we will see an immediate kind of impact, immediate difference to the Spurs team. But reality is going to jump in at some point. Even in the Europa Conference game, it was there to be seen. Like, good going forward, 3 goals, and poor goals conceded defensively. So their changes will be needed, but I tell you, I think it's exciting that he's gone there, exciting for the Spurs fans. They're going to get answers to questions now about certain players, about this team that they've wanted for a long time.
Well, let's talk about these fixes. What does he have to fix first?
First and foremost, he has to address a soft centre that runs through this football club.
The Spursy situation.
The Spursy that goes out there. That was there with Pochettino, and we think about the Champions League final when them and Liverpool were going for it, and think of where the two clubs have gone. And it's almost like Pochettino took that club and the players to a certain level, and maybe it was almost too close to him, wasn't hard enough. They get in the likes of Jose Mourinho, who comes with his tough love and the way he was going to do things, which looked like at first it was going to work. Jose couldn't get close enough to address. Nuno comes in, Rebecca, and was not set up for success. That was never going to work. What I like about this guy, and some people will say he's a bit Mourinho, he's more player-centric than Jose Mourinho. He understands, and one of the things, one of the criticisms I have of Jose Mourinho is, sometimes because he's never played, he doesn't understand when you publicly put players out, how it feels, what that dressing room's like, those relationships in there. Conte was a top-class player. And at times he tells people, but he doesn't do it in the way that Mourinho does, in that public shaming you way, where players actually go against him. He can keep players on side. And I'm looking forward to, and I think this Spurs dressing room is ready for an Antonio Conte to take them to the next level and address some of those things that we see that keep coming up for Spurs. And we keep saying, well, are they a good team? Well, can they get over the hump?
Well, when he talks about his philosophy, he talks often about the word sacrifice and suffering, and he talks about how everything has to be honed towards your football. Nothing else matters. He is so blinkered, if you like, towards the football. And the story goes that at Inter Milan, Romelu Lukaku, he changed up his diet, gave him a Mediterranean diet, his entire body shape changed, and he became a better player from where he was at Manchester United. He is so honed in on those details. How much of a shock to the system could that be if you're a Spurs player?
It's going to be a big shock. No question it's going to be a big shock in a couple of ways. Ashley Young was with him at Inter Milan. Recent interview. We ran, and more running. He wants them fitter, that's for sure. The shadow play that I talk about with him, I've seen it firsthand when he first took over Juventus. They came to the United States for a pre-season friendly. I watched training the day before I was going to commentate on the game for a different network, and I sat and watched for 40 minutes, shadow play, boring. The 11 against nobody on a full-size pitch. Buffon rolling the ball out. You go to Lichtsteiner, you come inside to Pirlo, you're going to go over there. Then there's an option for you. We cross, we try and finish, we go back and start again. So weaving patterns of play to muscle memory that becomes...
That you then do in a game?
Yeah, well, so the next day I do the game, and in commentary I'm like, yeah, I saw all this yesterday. I saw the way that Luca Toni drops the ball off and he spins and gets out wide to one of the wing-backs. I've seen all this. So back to your point on his methods, love it. I love it. Now, it's boring as anything. Absolutely as boring as anything, shadow play. Well, you go there, remember, do that. OK, we start again for 45 minutes and probably every other day. But you're going to see it. I guarantee in these next few games, you're going to see a pattern of play, a familiar kind of movements and patterns that he imparts, and I love it. I think it works great.
What's great about that, Rebecca, and it takes me back to my career at Wimbledon team when we were playing, that's what we did. And that's what got me success. I played well, scored goals because of the system of play, because knowing that it goes to the right, I'm going to make the run, this guy. All those things are important. And if you're not a maverick, if you're not a great technical guy and all that, you need that structure. And that structure is going to be important to some of these Tottenham players who we keep saying, is he good enough or isn't he? And then they've got the stars, the Harry Kanes, the Young Men's Sons, possibly the Dele Allis. They've got those guys who can be difference makers, but they'll have a structure that will give the individuals success.
And it limits the potential errors.
Yeah.
Everybody's accountable, Rebecca, because you've done it 1,000 times in training. So if you're not showing up for the ball, or if you're not playing that ball in when we've worked on it 1,000 times, it's obvious.
And everybody else in the team goes, stop putting it in like we did in training. Yeah. It's like it perpetuates it.
I think it's going to come out obviously what this team needs. And to cut to the chase, I think central defenders are a problem and the middle of the park. Yeah. I think when you look at the wing-backs, Emerson Royal on the right-hand side, Sergio Reguilón on the left-hand side, potentially good wing-backs. The front three of Son, Kane and Lucas Moura with their pace, yeah, pretty good. Middle of the park's a concern, and the three central defenders, which is the foundation, it's the base for this whole system, I think it's going to need to be upgraded.
Do you think we will see an instant change in Harry Kane today?
We will see actually, to answer your question, yes. I think there's a respect for Antonio Conte. I think there's an ambition to get back. Harry's not going to be enjoying things at the moment. Everybody's criticised, everybody's got their opinion of Harry Kane. He's desperate to get back. He'll be desperate to get back to the Harry Kane who's scoring goals. And Lukaku's a great example. When Romelu Lukaku left Manchester United, people always were telling us what he doesn't do well and what things of his game needs to improve. Under Conte, 2 seasons, 47 goals, 13 assists, whole different player. I think, having done that with Lukaku, Harry Kane's going to look at this and go, this guy can get me right back on top of my game.
Interesting that when Antonio Conte was in a studio for an international tournament, he talked about Harry Kane needing to get in the box more. Less of the dropping to receive the ball and be the number 10 into the box more. The only thing I would say, right, and maybe this, I see a sluggish Harry Kane. Now, I know his mentality we've questioned, but even if he's really fired up and driven to play now for this new manager, I think he's got to sharpen up. I see a sluggish, a slow Harry Kane. Now,
somebody said he's got 3 fitness coaches, Antonio Conte, so maybe one of those 3...
I feel like there's some work needed for Harry Kane's physical game to get back as sharp as what we've seen before, because over recent weeks, maybe there's other reasons for it. He hasn't looked himself in terms of his general sharpness on the ball.
Are we going to see silverware won at Tottenham this season?
We're in the quarterfinals of the League Cup.
The FA Cup hasn't started yet.
Hasn't started yet. Oh, I mean, like a better chance than for a very long time.
It'll be
but
a
I'll
target.
say,
It'll be a target,
yeah,
Rebecca.
I mean, probably not, but they'll get close.
You know me, I'm
more
romantic on a Sunday. Let's give him the FA Cup.
Conte lifting a trophy come May or February?
Why not?
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches and much more.